Hello everyone, welcome back. Today's mini flow, I'm going to use my blocks to help me raise the floor when I get into some of my leg positions. I'm going to get into some Warrior One, and we're going to incorporate our triangle pose into this flow. So I'm going to have them handy just in case I need them. So if you want to grab what you need for today's practice. And we will start once again on the back, Shavasana. As you bring yourself to your mat, extend the legs long. If that's not comfortable on the low back, know that you can bend at the knees. Extend the arms long, palms up. And start to settle in. Settle into the space, the time. Relax your body. Allow the muscles to melt into the floor. And just start to notice the breath. What kind of breath has come with you to your mat today? Some days our breath is easily slowed down, smoothed out, and we can come to that very relaxed space quite quickly. Other days it's not so easy. So don't be too hard on yourself if you notice that it's difficult for you to relax. Just do the best you can. And on those difficult days, just pick one little space that seems a little tense, a little extra tight, and see if you can soften that. We know that coming to the mat and moving our bodies is good for us. We know that manipulating our spine in different directions is good for us. So knowing that coming to your mat, you've already done something good for yourself. Regardless of how your flow actually ends up looking, be grateful that you can come to your mat. So without any judgment, just allow your body to move to the level that it's comfortable with today. Taking a few more cycles of breath here. And if you're not already, make your way down to the back. Draw your knees in for a little squeeze. And then extend the right leg long on your mat. Drive the heel into the floor, toes up to the sky, so that you have a little bit of support and it steadies your body. And we'll make those circles just with the left knee. Going out to the left with the inhale, coming back into the right with the exhale. And you can use your hand if you want to guide it along. And we're just taking that rotation in the hip socket just to start wakening up that hip, the leg, all of those muscles that are in there. And you might notice that it's more comfortable going out in that circle or in. Just notice what you notice. Most of us do hold tension in the hips. So this gentle little movement should feel nice. Shouldn't feel like it's too much effort. The circles can be small. They don't have to be big. And then draw the knee in, but see if you can take it a little bit more to the outside of your shoulder, instead of center. Almost angled out towards the floor. And again, the gentle pulling in. Don't pull and yank on that leg so much that you squeeze the belly so much that you can't breathe. I just want a gentle little opening here of the hip. Release the release the knee back to center, foot to the floor, and draw the opposite. Right knee into the chest. Extend the left leg long. Keep that heel grounded and start the circles with the right. So as I take the right knee out to the right, that's the inhale. And as the knee crosses over to the left and comes back into the chest, that's the exhale. And again, you can start your circles small. Maybe this hip is a little tight. And then gradually make them bigger if that feels good. Again, we're just getting a nice little rotation in that hip socket. Try to keep the rest of the torso straight and still. Try not to take your entire body around in these circles. Just see if you can concentrate it in that hip socket as best as you can. You might have a little bit of movement. And again, just noticing what's going on in this hip. Many times we notice that one side of the body is not exactly the same as the other side of the body. We hold tightness maybe differently from left to right side. And then draw that knee in, but a little bit more to the shoulder. So angle that knee towards the shoulder, just noticing again in that hip joint, how does that feel? You have a little bit of an external rotation of that knee outward. Try to keep that left leg straight, still. Hip bone still up towards the sky as best as you can. Try not to come over too much on the side. Use that hip socket to open up. Just a gentle little hip opener here. Draw the knees back into the chest. A little bit of movement here. And decide how are you going to get up into tabletop. Are you going to rock and roll? Are you going to swing your feet around? However way you want to, whichever is most comfortable for you, make your way to tabletop. And we're going to work on our side body here. So as you set up your tabletop, same as always, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Try to keep them underneath the hips. And this time as you extend that left leg back, inhaling, try to keep that torso rectangle parallel to the floor. And as you exhale, take the left foot, cross it over to the right so that the toes touch the floor. As the toes touch the floor, see if you can just gently look over the right shoulder. So we're trying to stretch the left side of our body. Try to keep the weight equal into both hands. Try not to let that left hip drop down. Try to keep it lifted. And just notice what you notice on the left side of the body. Take an inhale to straighten out the torso, so lift those toes, bring it back behind you, and then exhale, knee back to tabletop. Readjust if you need. Hands underneath the shoulder, knees underneath the hips. Inhale, the right leg extends long behind you. And as you exhale, cross the right leg over the left so that your right toes touch the floor on the left side of your mat. Weight equal in the arms. And then if it feels good, a gentle look over towards the left shoulder. Now you're going to feel a little bit of a side bend here. So if it's too much, you can straighten out the head and just use the leg. Try to use your breath to relax. Inhale to straighten out the spine. Exhale, tabletop. Readjust the hands, readjust the legs. And then just some regular cat-cows, just to straighten out the spine. Inhale, tail lifts, open up the collarbone, take the gaze slightly forward. And then as you exhale, tuck the tail, curve the spine, tuck the chin. Inhale, open up the front side of the body. Exhale, chin to chest, hollow out the belly, arch the spine. One more like that. Inhale, cow position. Exhale, cat. Come to neutral. Take any little bit of movement that you need here as we set up the hands once again. Wrap the triceps. Inhale, tuck the toes under, and exhale up into your down dog. And again, lengthen the spine first. Keep a generous bend in the knee until you can get the spine lengthened, and then see if those heels come a little bit closer to the floor as you straighten out the legs. Notice if your first one feels better with a little bit of movement, maybe a little bit of hip movement. Again, keeping the neck relaxed. One more cycle of breath here. And then as you take an inhale, see if you can step that foot forward. And then bring the opposite foot forward to your forward fold. Remember, your forward fold can have soft knees. Inhale up to the flat back, straighten out the legs, lengthen the spine, open up the collarbone, and then as you exhale, fold forward once again. Inhale to a standing position, arms reach up, lengthen out the spine. Exhale down to mountain pose. Inhale. Arms reach. Exhale, hinge from the hip to your forward fold. Inhale, flat back, open collarbone. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stand position, push down through the feet, reach up with the fingertips, hands down through heart center, mountain pose. One more time. Inhale, arms reach, lengthen out that spine. Exhale, fold forward, maybe less of a bend in the knees. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fingertips to the floor as I step my left foot back, planting the entire foot. I'm coming into warrior one. Keep the hips forward, knee bent, and then inhale the torso up. You can double check your hips as you're coming up. And then the arms reach up if it's comfortable. Warrior one. Make sure you have that front knee bent. Try to plant the back heel. Thigh rotating outward and up. Let's take 3 full breaths here. Soften the shoulders. Engage the legs. Warrior one. Keep breathing. Keep the ribs tucked in. Try not to flare them too much. One more cycle of breath. As you exhale, hands come back down to the floor. Step forward to your forward fold. Plant your feet. Inhale, flat back, lengthen out that spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to a standing position. Mountain pose is your exhale. Taking a little bit of a break. Inhale, arms reach up, a very short break. As you exhale, hinge forward from the hip. Forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands to the floor for a little bit of balance. Inhale, right leg back. Plant the entire foot. Warrior one. Inhale, torso. Check the hips. Arms reach. Do you need to readjust that back foot? Push into the outside edge of that back foot. Try to keep the hips and chest facing forward. Arms can reach if you're comfortable, or if you're a little tired, maybe the hands can be on the hips. Taking 3 breaths here, still taking a nice deep inhale into the spine, keeping that spine as long as you possibly can. Imagine a string on the top of your head being pulled up, but being grounded in your feet. Keep breathing. Inhale. As you exhale, hands come to the floor. Lift the back heel. We're going to step back to our downward facing dog. Notice what you notice. Do you need a little bit of movement here in your downward facing dog? Come forward to your plank. And then exhale back into your downward facing dog. This time, inhale, right leg up towards the sky. Exhale, step it through to your lunge position. Adjust the back foot so it plants down. We're coming back into our warrior one. Inhale, torso, arms reach up. And with your exhale, sink into your warrior one. Inhale to straighten out the front leg. And as you exhale, hinge from the hip and reach the arms forward, bringing your chest parallel to the floor. Hold here for a full cycle of breath. Inhale to reach the arms back up. Rebend that front knee, warrior one. And as you exhale, frame the front foot. Step back to your downward facing dog once again. Inhale forward to your plank. Readjust those hands and feet if you need to. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up to the sky. Step it forward into that lunge. Readjust the leg if you need. Step the back foot so that you can plant it down. We're coming up into our warrior one, inhaling up. Exhale to sink into your warrior one. Inhale to straighten the front leg. And as you exhale, hinge from the hip, reaching the arms forward. Try to bring your chest parallel with the floor. Left hip is pushing back, right hip pushing forward. Continue breathing. Inhale to lift the torso, rebend the front leg. And then exhale, hands to the floor. Step back to your downward facing dog. And then bring the knees down to the floor. Take a little breather here. Relax the arms, give the wrists a little bit of a break, give the legs a little bit of a break. I'm going to use my blocks on the next round, so I'm going to have them just a little bit closer so that I don't have to reach for them. You may not need them, but I know that I'm going to need them, so I'm going to have them handy. When you're ready, back into downward facing dog. And with your inhale, right leg up to the sky. As you exhale, step it into your lunge position first. Plant the back foot. Inhale up to your warrior one. And then sink a little bit deeper in your exhale. Inhale to straighten the front leg. And as you hinge forward, see if you can take your hands all the way down to the floor. Now, if you notice that you can't quite reach the floor, you can use your blocks. So again, we're trying to scissor those hips, get a nice stretch for the front leg hamstring. So here my right hip is scissoring back and my left hip is scissoring forward. If you don't have any blocks, you can rest your hands on your shin. Maybe you don't need blocks. Maybe you can comfortably get your hands to the floor. I know for me that the blocks feel a little bit more comfortable. I get a nice stretch in the legs. I'm going to hold my flank position for 2 full breaths. Working on straightening the front leg, but not locking it. Maybe sinking the chest a little bit closer to the thigh. I'm going to soften the front knee as I move my block slightly out of the way to come back up into warrior one. As I exhale, hands frame the front foot. I'm going to step my back foot back slightly so that I come to my plank position right away. Let's work on a little bit of strength here. Remember, you can drop your knees if you need to. One more full cycle of breath here if you can. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, take the break in child's pose if you need it. Or can you actually rest in your downward facing dog? Your breath will always tell you what you need. One more cycle of breath to make your way back into downward facing dog if you're not already. And then inhale, left leg up to the sky. As you exhale, step it into your lunge position. Help it if you need. Drop the back foot so that it's planted. I'm coming up to warrior one. Hips forward, chest forward, arms reach. And as you exhale, rebend that front knee just in case you straightened it out. Try to bring those hips to face forward. Inhale to straighten out that knee, front knee. And as you hinge forward from the hip, reaching forward and then reaching down, notice maybe you can touch the floor. Maybe you need those blocks. Again, front hip pushing back as you straighten out that leg. Back hip pushing forward. That hip joint is pushing to the back of the mat. That would be your left hip socket here. As I try to drop my chest a little bit closer to the front thigh. Still keeping the back thigh lifting to the sky by pushing on the outside edge of that back foot. Are you still breathing? Maybe you notice coming to this side, you're already able to plant the hands on the floor. Maybe you need the blocks. As you inhale, rebend the knee, come back up to warrior one. And then as you exhale, frame the front foot. Step back to your plank position. So readjust those legs if you need to. And work on a little bit of strength here. We'll hold our plank. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, downward facing dog. Come back to that plank. Let's work those arms just a little bit more. Inhale back to your plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Either rest in downward facing dog or take a break in child's pose. Maybe tabletop is all you need to readjust, have the wrists have a little bit of a break. Maybe those hip sockets, you can really feel them. Two cycles of breath wherever you're resting. From downward facing dog, we're going to add on a little bit more. Inhale, right leg up to the sky. Exhale, step it into your lunge position first. Plant the back heel. Do the best you can. Find what space you need. Inhale up to warrior one. Inhale, straighten the leg. Come forward into your flank position. Inhale the torso. I'm going to keep my arms down just for a second. As I open up the hips, open up that back foot, making my way into triangle pose. I might need to adjust those feet. Front hip dips towards the back of the mat as I tip my torso, reaching my right front hand down the thigh towards the floor, keeping the chest open to the side of the mat. My left hand can stay on the hip, or if I'm feeling comfortable, it can reach up towards the sky. Remember, don't lock out that front knee. Tucking in that front hip. Maybe taking the gaze up if it's comfortable with the neck. If it's not, you can keep the gaze forward or even down. Remember, take the adjustment, take the modification that's best suited for you to open up your chest to the side of the mat. Working the legs, but gently. One more full cycle of breath here. Inhale to lift the shoulders back over the hips. Turn the torso as you frame the front foot, lift the back heel, and step back to your plank. One cycle of breath here. And exhale to your downward facing dog. Make any adjustment that you need. 2 or 3 breaths here to rest before we get to the other side. Where do you need to rest? Do you need some movement? How do those hip sockets feel? How do the hamstrings feel? One more cycle of breath. And then from downward facing dog, inhale left leg up to the sky. As you step it through into your lunge position, always know that if it needs some help, take that hand and help it. Drop the back heel. We're coming up to warrior 1. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Come to your flank position, hinging at the hip. Maybe using those blocks. Scissoring the hips. Feeling the sensation on the back of the front leg. Now it's the left leg. Taking another cycle of breath here. Inhale, lift just the torso. And then open up the chest and open up those back toes. Hips are facing the side of the mat. Take an inhale here and start to hinge the torso forward. We're coming into triangle pose. As the left arm reaches down towards the floor, where is the right arm comfortable for me? Is it reaching up to the sky? Is it keeping it in my back pocket? Where does the gaze feel comfortable? Trying not to lock out that left knee, but keeping a very slight bend. Working on opening up the chest to the right side of your mat. Using that hand on your leg to help you rotate the torso just a little bit more. Taking any modification that suits you best right now. One more full cycle of breath here. Keep breathing. Keep planting the feet into the floor. Inhale to untwist the torso. Rebend the front knee to frame the front foot. Lift the back heel and step back into your plank. Readjust what you need. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a little breather here. Do the legs require more rest than downward facing dog gives you? Keep breathing. One more cycle of breath. And I'm going to make sure that my blocks are handy. I'm going to keep them here at the front of the mat because as I add on, I know that there's a very good chance that I'm going to use those blocks to help me get into the next little progression. When you're ready, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg up to the sky. As you exhale, lunge position first. Drop the back heel. Come up to your warrior one. Straighten the front leg. Rotate the torso to the side. Change the foot position. Hinge the torso to triangle pose. Readjust those feet if you think you have a little bit more space. And as I hold my triangle for a cycle of breath, just noticing how my hips feel. Take one more inhale here. And as you exhale, bend the front knee. Reach the right hand down towards the floor to get into your side angle. Now this is where a block might come in handy. So you can rest your fingertips to encourage that rotation of the torso. Chest is facing left side of the mat. The block might need to be a little higher. You might be able to get your hand to the floor while still keeping the chest open. Straighten the front leg, come back to your triangle pose. Rotate the torso towards the floor. I'm just going to move my block, and I'm going to step back to my downward facing dog. Taking a slight, small break. 2 breaths. From downward facing dog, let's prep for the other side. Inhale, left leg up to the sky. Step it forward into your lunge, and again, if it doesn't make it, help it along. Drop the back heel. We're coming up into our warrior one. Straighten the front knee. Open up the torso. Open up the back foot so that your torso is facing the right side of your mat. Hinge at the hip into your triangle pose. Again, the hand on the leg for a little bit of support. Try to keep the chest open. Notice where it's more comfortable for your neck. Take a breath here, and then as you exhale, start to bend that front knee. And see how far can you get down into your side angle. Again, the block might help you here. As you still try to keep that torso facing the right side of the mat. The front knee is bent. Hand on the floor or block. Top hand might be on your hip, might be reaching up towards the sky. Is that back thigh lifting up, or is it falling down? Try to lift it up. The gaze might go up towards the sky. It might need to be down. Choose the modification that best suits you right now. One more full cycle of breath here. As you inhale, untwist the torso. I'm going to move my block out of the way. Lift the back heel and step back to downward facing dog. And as you adjust here, notice what you need. Do you need child's pose? Do you need something else? As you notice what's going on in those hip joints, how do they feel? we're going to go one more time. And we're just going to make a slight little addition or another little modification. Let's see how it goes. From downward facing dog. Again, you can have those blocks handy if you think you're going to need them. From our downward facing dog, finish your exhale. Inhale, right leg up to the sky. Exhale, step it into your lunge position first. Drop the back heel. Come all the way up to a standing position, but straighten out that front knee as you come up. Open the torso, reach the arms. Right arm reaching forward, left arm reaching back. Start to tip that torso into your triangle pose. Again, adjust those feet if you need. From triangle, bend the front knee into your side angle, keeping that chest open. Inhale back to your triangle. Exhale, side angle. Do the best you can. One more time. Inhale, triangle. Exhale, side angle. Keep that lunge in the front leg. As you lift the back heel, frame the front foot. Step back to your downward facing dog and just notice what you notice in that hip. We just coaxed out a little bit more, hopefully a little bit more space. 2 breaths here before we get to the other side. You're almost done. You can do this though. From downward facing dog, inhale left leg up to the sky. As you exhale, step it through, and again, always help it if you need. Drop the back foot as if we're coming up into warrior 1, but as you lift the torso this time, straighten out the front knee, arms reach, and as you exhale, open up as if you're trying to get to triangle. So the arms reach, left reaches forward, right reaches back, readjust that back foot if you need, and then with your next exhale, move that torso and start to hinge at the hip into your triangle pose. And again, in your triangle pose, the front knee is not locked. Do the best you can to keep breathing. Notice the hip joints. Take a breath here, and as you exhale, side angle, reach towards the floor, readjust those legs if you need. Inhale, triangle pose. Exhale, side angle. One more. Inhale, triangle. Exhale, side angle. Inhale, untwist the torso, hands frame the front foot, lift that back knee, step back to your downward facing dog. And then come to your tabletop, rest those hips in child's pose. Take a little breather, maybe swaying the hips side to side, get into those hip sockets. Depending on how they feel, they might need a little bit of a break. Good job. And as you catch your breath, notice what you feel. Do the legs feel better? Do you notice those hip sockets? Take one more breath in your child's pose. And then make your way back into tabletop. And just like when we started, we're going to do that little crossover with the leg. And we're going to see how it feels. So from our tabletop, Extend the left leg back behind you. And again, right away, you might notice, I can feel some business going on. And as you exhale, cross it over so the toes touch the outside of the right of the mat. And look over your right shoulder. Inhale to straighten out the torso, straighten out the leg, and tabletop. Inhale, right leg long back behind you, about hip height. And as you exhale, cross it over to the left side of your mat. Toes touch the floor. Look over the left shoulder, get a little bit of a side bend. Inhale to straighten out the torso, reach the leg back behind you. Tabletop is your exhale. And just to make sure that the spine feels nice, a few cat-cows here so that our spine is in a straight line. No more twisting, but just giving a little bit of a wave. Inhaling, front side of the body opens up. Exhaling as you close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. One more on your own breath. Come to neutral. Sit back onto your heels. Swing the feet around. Adjust yourself on the mat. Make the space that you need so that you can roll yourself down to your back. And as you make your way down to your back, just notice again. What do you notice in your body? Was the work effort a little bit too much for you today? Was it just right? Maybe a little bit of movement is something that's going to make you feel good, or coming straight into your Shavasana is what you need. And as you relax those legs, relax the hips. So choosing what best suits you right now. As you soften the work effort, relaxing the muscles, allowing your body to get heavy into the floor. Allowing your body to absorb, to take in all of that information. The movement, the twisting, all of it is meant to create some space in our bodies so that we can take on the rest of our day, the rest of our week, with a little bit more ease. And that's constantly what we're looking for, is to do the things that we want to do with ease. As you rest here in Shavasana, we'll take about 5 cycles of breath here. And at this time, you're not going over in your mind what your body was not able to do. Rather, celebrate what your body was able to do. even if the movements felt a little awkward at first, a little uncomfortable at first. Did it get a little easier? Thank your body for whatever movement it gave you. Be grateful that you were able to come to the mat once again. Start to deepen the breath. Wake up the body with those little movements, whatever feels good for you right now. Gently bend at the knees, draw the knees up into the chest, give yourself a nice little hug. One last little thank you for yourself. And as you make your way up into your sit position, take your time coming up. Once you get there, find your cross leg. Sit nice and tall. Take the arms up overhead with your inhale. Palms meet as they exhale down through to your heart center. Taking 2 cycles of breath here. Nice deep inhale. Exhale. Once more, inhaling. Exhaling. We'll finish our practice here, honoring the light within. Namaste. Thank you for joining me once again. Enjoying the last little bit of warm weather. We might be able to get maybe 1 or 2 more videos in before it starts to get really cool. I'm not certain. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for joining me once again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.